Hello, everybody. I am Burlington Mayor Marianne Mead Ward, and welcome to another edition of Burlington Matters, where we bring together local voices to talk about the awesome things in our community. And there's so much to talk about always, and we always have great panelists, and today is no exception. So we're going to get right to it. We are on our Tour of the Neighborhood series, where we check in with community groups and council members throughout the city to find out what's happening. And so today, I am pleased to welcome Ward 3 Councillor Rory Nissan and also Bob Misson, who is the Lowville Festival co-founder and co-artistic director. And of course, Lowville is a gem in our city in rural North Burlington. So it is great to have you both. There's a long history to the festival. And of course, Bob, you have been in our community doing amazing things for a long time. So I'm going to start right there with you, Robert. So talk to us about how the Lowville Festival came about and what it is. Go ahead.
Well, the Lowville Festival got its start in the fall of 2014, and it was a series of kind of circumstances. I don't know, spending more and more time developing activities here in Burlington. I'd been living here at that point for about 5 years, but I would say that I was in Burlington, but not of it. A lot of my attention was being addressed towards Burlington, and of course I have an artist management company. I'm putting tours together right across Canada. But for a series of reasons, one of which was a large event that took place at the city theater, I guess you'd call it, the community theater.
Performing Arts
Brought all sorts of, brought all sorts of arts organizations together. And I met Angela Paparizzo, and I met a whole bunch of kind of movers and shakers in the arts here. And so that kind of prompted me to start spending time and energy in Burlington. Long story short, I became a founding member of what became the Arts and Culture Council of Burlington. I did a number of activities at Burlington Performing Arts Center. And in the fall of 2014, I thought, we should have some sort of festival in North Burlington. It is such a beautiful, beautiful part of the world. Awesomely beautiful, I think, with those majestic peaks of the escarpment. I'm a huge fan of natural history and environmentalism and peace and quiet. And so I thought, well, we should really do something to nurture all of those things in the context of beautiful downtown Lowville. So as luck would have it, I met at an event I was presenting in Toronto at the time, a young lady called Loretta Bailey, fantastic musical theater performer who happened to live in Lowville. And I overheard her talking about Lowville. And I said, Loretta, we really should get together and chat about some possibilities. So over the course of that winter, we put together a committee. We met largely at St. George's Church, the Anglican Church. And by that summer, we put together our first festival. And then we did that for a series of summers and springs. We kind of moved it around a little bit to try and figure out when the best time might be to do it. We defined it as a festival of all of the arts for the artist in all of us, which meant that not only would it celebrate every possible artistic discipline, not just music, but various forms of music, theater, dance, visual arts, but it would be highly participatory. And what that meant from the very beginning is that we created a festival choir. And that very first choir had 35 performers from all over Lowville and the region, from Burlington, a few from Hamilton, a few from Guelph. And within a couple of years, we had as many as 60 people in that choir. And we fronted it with some amazing performers like Ben Hepner. And then, of course, we brought in artists like Sarah Harmer and Second City. We had a really broad range of activities. And then, of course, COVID came along, and we had really interesting plans to move the festival to an abandoned quarry at Mount Nemo, which Rory had directed us towards, because he knew we were looking for something different. We were basically doing the concerts in the church halls, and that kind of minimized our capacity for audiences, and we were eager to be doing things outside as well, and kind of extolling the virtues of the outside. So comes COVID, and we had to completely shut down our activities in 2020. But this year we've come back into gear, and maybe I can talk about what we're planning a little bit later. But that's kind of not terribly brief history of what we've done there. But it really is to serve not only audiences in Burlington, although Burlington is our largest potential audiences, but there's a catchment of millions of people in the area. We're closer to those people than Niagara-on-the-Lake is, than Stratford is, and so, we consider those possibilities. And the other thing, of course, that we've tried to do is we've tried to showcase artists from in and around Burlington. So that, that's not our entire sort of modus operandi, but because we brought in some pretty major international artists as well. But that's kind of the thrust of what we've been doing.
We have quite a Rolodex, Bob, some of those people that you've brought in, and what an incredible gift to our community to have people who may be just starting or doing this as a sideline because they love music or performance or singing or something like that, to be able to rub shoulders and be beside the experts, really world-renowned people. So what an incredible concept. I will come back to you in terms of what you've got planned this year, but I'm going to turn it over to Councillor Nissan to talk a little bit about what the Lowville Festival has meant, not only for, as you put it, Bob, downtown Lowville, the bustling community. It's got a great bistro, and the park has always been a family favorite for us, for sure. But what it has meant for that community and really beyond, as you know, it has brought in people across the region and even beyond Burlington. Go ahead.
Sure, yeah. So, Lowville has such a long history, Marianne, going back over 100 years, where it was a bustling community. It was a real meeting point, being on Guelph Line, and had the general store, and it was an important local community at the time. And things change over time, and centers change, points of commerce change, and it's more of a small, some would say, combination of bedroom community and farming. And what the Lowville Festival has done is bring together these disparate local groups into a joyous artistic occasion. And in that way, it does bring revitalization through Lowville and making Lowville a center again, although as a cultural center rather than an economic one. I think it's very gratifying for the residents up there, and also it's in Burlington, you can be a tourist in your own town, in your own city. That's what's so unique about Burlington. So I'm about 12 minutes from Lowville, and you're like in a different world. Once you go over the hill, you're entering a different place. And so that, I fondly remember some Lowville Festival events at St. George's Church, but also Lowville United Church, where it just feels like you've gone somewhere else, to a different place. And that's what Lowville Festival can bring for people in Burlington and, the whole region.
Well, it's incredible to hear and listen to the history, and we have the old. There's lots of heritage right up in Lowville Park. There's the old schoolhouse that is being restored, and it's been open to the public at various times. I think it might have been either on your wish list or an actual venue for one of the Lowville performances. Bob, am I right about that?
You're absolutely right. When we first started doing performances, we did quite a number of events in that beautiful schoolhouse. We did a series of film events, and then we did kind of a talk back afterwards. We did a couple of performances during actual festivals, more intimate events like kind of folk-oriented concerts, that sort of thing. But it's such a jewel itself, and in some ways, I think the board of the festival considers it kind of like the locus, or could be the locus, for the festival from which everything else could emanate. So if we can get that restored, that would be a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Well, I remember seeing plans, and I'll come to you maybe later, Rory, to see if you have any update on where those are at. I remember seeing plans several years ago for ways to improve accessibility and washroom facilities and so forth, and that may have all been hampered somewhat or put on pause during COVID. But let's talk about what you've got planned for this upcoming season for the Lowville Festival, Bob.
Well, as I alluded to an abandoned quarry earlier, Rory took me to see this amazing quarry right in the middle of the Mount Nemo Conservation Authority two autumns ago. And he said, "What do you think of this?" And I was just gobsmacked. I mean, first of all, we're not even sure of the history of it. So there's some history that needs to, like who quarried it and all that sort of thing. What seems pretty clear is it's been abandoned for at least 70 or 80 years. So there's this amazing secondary growth there. But you've got these awesome cliffs that must be at least over 100 feet tall. And the acoustic in that quarry, I won't claim that it's the arena at Verona or, one of the famous Greek,
It's our Verona.
Well, it will be, because it does have a really interesting acoustic. So what we did this year, recognizing that we could still only do something virtually, is we're in the process of putting together a 30-minute video, a virtual festival. We're working with a wonderful local videographer called Kun Hua. We've done all of the filming now, and we filmed this event in various areas in and around Lowville, including Lowville United and Lowville Park and St. George's. And the big reveal is going to be a performance in the actual quarry featuring a wonderful new women's choir based here in Burlington, conducted by an extraordinarily gifted young woman called Elise Nacarado. And she and many of the members of the group are alumna of the Hamilton Children's Choir, which, speaking of somebody that knows quite a bit about choirs, I think this is probably the finest children's choir in Canada. I'm not exaggerating. And I think that the work that Elise is doing with this group of young women is really extraordinary. And everybody will get a taste of that, because that will be the final reveal, as I say, in this video, which will include, shots of Rattlesnake Point and Mount Nemo. It'll be, just the majesty of Lowville, and then some beautiful performances featuring some performers that have been part of our festival in the past, like Andy Griffiths, the singer-songwriter, and a couple of young and up-and-coming performers that are new to me, but people that Loretta has brought to the party. And so it's going to be, a beautiful 30-minute distillation of kind of 5 years of our history, and we're kind of calling it a love letter from the Lowville Festival to Burlington, to Lowville and to Burlington. So it's, it's, as Rory said earlier, I mean, people don't recognize that we have this extraordinary region north of our city. So many people don't know anything about the area north of 407. They're just so contained within, the metropolitan district of Burlington. So, I think we're still doing what we can to introduce people to all those joys. And this video, which will likely be launched about the 15th of October. We're still doing the editing and all that sort of stuff, but it'll be a great introduction to many people in the city to the festival. And by the way, it goes without saying, we're really grateful to the city for the support that it's given us to do this video. Without that, we would not have been able to do it. Thank you.
That's incredible. I love the concept of a love letter to the city of Burlington. And one of the things we moved here in 2000, and one of the reasons we came, our family, is because of the proximity of natural environment, the rural area. 5-10 minutes you can be out in, as Rory says, it feels like you're in a whole other community and a whole other universe. And that was a selling feature for us for Burlington. And I know for many people, and maybe we'll talk a little bit later in the show, Rory, about some of the funding opportunities that are available that were used for the video. But I like this concept of being a tourist in your own town and discovering everything that Burlington has to offer, especially in the last year and a half when we haven't been able to travel in the ways that we've normally done. So where is this quarry? I have hiked Mount Nemo. I can't tell you how many times. And I want to go there. And I know you and I and Angelo are planning a tour of the rural neighborhood to find yet more things. I thought I had covered every inch of that land, and I'm curious to know where this Verona performance space is. And I love the fact I love that you are turning a natural environment into a performance venue, like just repurposing what's art. That's the ultimate recycling, right? I mean, it's just so creative.
I think it's pretty wizardly, and the fact that it was sitting there. I mean, if it were, 5 years old, it wouldn't have this incredible charm, and these 50-foot tall poplars and cedars within the actual quarry, and well, it's interesting you ask where the heck is it, because I went into the Mount Nemo conservation area a number of times, and in the middle of it, I could see this blue pond. And I thought, that must be an abandoned quarry or something like that. But there was no indication of how to get to it. There were no paths or anything like that. And I thought, well, they don't want people going in there and drowning or whatever. But eventually, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years, Rory, 3 or 4 years ago, the Conservation Authority decided to develop the space and make it into a venue for filming and for picnics. And so it was this incredible conjunction of opportunities. The Conservation Halton had decided they wanted to develop it. They put a road down into it. No pond down there, unfortunately. I thought maybe we could go down, we could have a dip in the pond, but that's gone. But what remains is this glorious space, and I mean, the fact that the conservation people are interested, and in fact are co-producing this first festival with us. There are partners in this project, which is so cool.
That is awesome. And as you probably know, both Councillor Nissan and myself sit on the Conservation Halton board and go to every event. They have their last gala was at one of the other quarries that is part of their, not the one in Burlington, but to be able to have events in these spectacular natural environments is incredible. So the location is, drum roll, Rory, and then talk to us about the community fund.
So it's about 2/3 of the way to the precipice, and there's a little sign that says "Quarry to the right." Just a little sign on a post, and if you
very little sign.
Okay, you're gonna have to be my tour guide.
If you hit the toilets, you've gone too far. So
okay. So that I walk right by that. So I'm going to watch for the sign the next time, or maybe we can put that on our tour of the rural neighborhood when we go. It's
spectacular. Yeah, it's really.
That is such a cool find in our community, as you say, a tourist in your own town. So talk to us a little bit about the community fund and the money that is available to community groups like Lowville Festival to apply for various projects.
Sure, yeah. So before COVID, there was a Burlington Arts and Culture Fund, which we increased the total amount available for that a couple of years ago. During COVID, these smaller funding opportunities have been amalgamated into, I believe it's called the COVID-19 Community Support Fund. So through that, there continues to be funding available, and I believe applications are on a rolling basis. That's being tapped for a community event in Brant Hills at the end of the month, for example, as well as an event at the Burlington Performing Arts Center from the African Caribbean Council of Halton. Their big launch, I believe, is tapping into that fund as well. So there is quite a bit of opportunity, and people shouldn't hesitate. It's actually a pretty easy online application. You sign for it online and everything. Don't have to leave the comfort of your office or bedroom.
Well, and we have great staff as well who will walk people through the application process, but there's real money on the table here. I don't know, Bob, if you can share or know off the top of your head what you got, but the programs that we've put into place in the past, I think that's the amalgamated one, it's up to $5,000 in matching funds. So if you put together, and we count volunteer labor, we count donations in kind or actual cash that a community group would raise, and we'll match you up to 5,000. So that's a $10,000 gift between the city and the community towards a project that that is community led, community inspired, community driven. So it's pretty significant. Not everybody uses all that amount; they don't need it, but it is it's a good chunk of change.
And even if you want to do a street party, they've got $1,500 available just for small scale micro events in your community that doesn't even require matching funds. They can, our awesome event staff can work with people to make it happen with their project. And we just want to see as much, COVID appropriate events continuing in our cities to give people that good feeling they have when they're exposed to arts and culture.
And the list of events that have been funded, some of them are seasonal Christmas events, community gardens. I mean, there's just such a range, arts and culture. There's such a range of events that have been funded, and that list is available on the City of Burlington webpage. So I invite people to check it out and get your creative juices going and see what you want to do in your own neighborhood. Bob, I want to come back to you as well. For anyone watching out there who might be inspired as I am for sure, and I'm sure Councillor Nissan, what would be your advice to a community group that wants to get started on something like this? You talked about how many years it was in the planning to get to where you are now, but how do you get things rolling? How do you get started? And what advice would you give to a group of people out there that want to enhance arts and culture in their local community?
Wow. Well, I mean,
in 5 minutes or less.
Well, I'm going to try to distill it down to one or two things. First of all, you want to have a really interesting idea or vision. And in our case, of course, my background, my life has been in the performing arts. So bringing all of those energies to bear on putting together a project in a beautiful part of the universe, which just happened to be Burlington, then connecting the dots. I think the first thing for me, it was really important to have somebody like Loretta Bailey living in Lowville, and Loretta brought other Lowvillians to the party, and she had a link to the Lowville United Church, and just in one way, just making certain cold calls. I won't forget the day I called Nigel Bunce, the rector at St. George's Church, and I said, we're thinking of doing this festival. He instantly, because he lived in Guelph and he was a big fan of classical music, he said, oh, so I mean, nurturing enthusiasm for sure, but I think also in terms of because in my case, I wanted to work with professionals. I wanted to nurture a professional festival, is finding where that funding might exist. And, I'm very pleased that we were able to nurture some of these kinds of funds through the development of the Arts and Culture Council here. And, the other thing is, we've nurtured various sponsorships. I would define the work that we do with Conservation Halton is a very interesting partnership slash sponsorship. And so I think it's interesting. I think it's having an idea, and it may just be as simple as, I want to do a concert featuring so-and-so. Like another thing that I'm doing, and this was directly related to special COVID funding, is I'm doing a concert featuring Trevor Cobb at Port Nelson United, which we hoped to have done last November directly in the middle of COVID, and then it was cut back down because of COVID. So we're going to be doing that this fall. But that was one very specific artist, one very specific project that has a kind of a family aspect to it. So, you know, I think I like personally, as I said, doing something in my own community, working with community artists. And we've worked with so many different wonderful professional and let's call them developing artists, like Haley Verl. I mean, I heard her sing. She sent a videotape to something that we did at the Culture Days, and I just went, wow. I mean, you know, we don't realize the quality of the artists that we have in this community. So, but you know, I could be saying that about Brantford, or I could be saying that about Guelph or something like that. You know, and then probably finding where the interesting places are to do things. For us, we were able to find the hall, for example, at St. George's was a bit of a gift because it's you know, seats about 200, had a nice acoustic for choirs, interestingly, and that was very boomy otherwise. So I don't know. That's probably 5 minutes. I don't.
That we are just about out of time. I'm going to give Rory 30 seconds to wrap up. If you have any last words around the importance of festivals and community groups like this for you and doing your job. But it sounds like it starts with having a vision, attracting people to your vision, and then just using your Rolodex and your networks to get things done. But go ahead, Rory, any last words from you before we wrap?
Oh, you know, I just have a lot of gratitude for Bob and the Lowville Festival for bringing this to North Burlington. So thank you so much, Bob. And if anyone out there listening to this has any bright ideas, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. I certainly would be happy to talk to you, because it's amazing how much I've learned in the last few years about how to get these kind of events up and running by being exposed to them through the city. So I'd be happy to help anyone who's looking to bring any new arts and culture or social events. Please don't hesitate to reach out.
Well, thanks everyone. We are out of time. I really want to thank Ward 3 Councillor Rory Nissan and Bob Nissen, of course, the Lowville Festival co-founder and co-artistic director, for your time today on our Burlington Tour of the Neighborhoods Ward 3. And there you have it, folks. If you have any questions, comments, please reach out to any of us, and we can connect you through my office, mayor@burlington.ca. That's another edition of Burlington Matters. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Signing off, I'm Mayor Marianne Mead Ward.